To choose yourself is to strip away everything that was never truly you. Since birth, you've been told who you should be, how to behave, what to want, what success should look like. Slowly, these voices from parents, teachers, and society began to weave themselves into your identity, until you could no longer tell where they ended and you began. Authentic self-acceptance is the moment you stop trying to be the image others projected onto you. It is the quiet rebellion of standing as you are, without justification. It is not loud or defiant, but deeply peaceful, like the calm that follows a storm. When you accept yourself fully, you no longer feel compelled to prove your worth through achievements or the opinions of others. You begin to see that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with you, that your flaws, your uncertainties, and even your contradictions are all expressions of life unfolding through you. Authenticity is not about becoming something greater. It is about realizing you were never less. This kind of acceptance doesn't mean indifference. It means awareness, knowing your strengths and shadows without judgment. It means being honest about your feelings and desires, even when they don't fit into the tidy boxes the world provides. Once you allow yourself to be real, life becomes lighter. You no longer wear the heavy mask of perfection. You move with a sense of ease, because there is no longer a false self to maintain. The moment you stop fighting who you are, you begin to feel an intimacy with existence itself. You become one with the natural flow of things, and life no longer feels like a performance, but a dance, spontaneous, free, and completely your own. The desire for validation is one of the most subtle prisons the human mind builds. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek approval, a nod from a parent, a grade from a teacher, a like from a stranger. Slowly, the sense of self begins to depend on these external affirmations. You start to believe that love must be earned, that your existence must be justified through performance. But the moment you begin to free yourself from this cycle, something extraordinary happens. The noise quiets. You start hearing your own voice again, the one that had been drowned out by constant comparison and expectation. Freedom from validation is not about rejecting others or isolating yourself. It is about remembering that your worth is not negotiable. It does not rise and fall with the opinions of others. When you stop chasing approval, you discover a deeper serenity, because the energy once spent on pleasing others returns to you. You begin to act not from fear of rejection, but from the joy of self-expression. What once felt like pressure transforms into possibility. This liberation invites a profound honesty into your life. You speak not to be liked, but to be true. You create not to impress, but to express. And slowly, the people who resonate with your authenticity appear naturally, while those who needed your mask quietly fade away. You realize that approval was never love, and attention was never the same as connection. To be free of validation is to finally rest in your own being. It is to understand that the universe does not need you to prove anything. It only asks you to exist fully, without apology, without pretense, and without the exhausting need to be seen through someone else's eyes. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding that choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, but one of balance. The world often confuses self-prioritization with ego. Yet there is a profound difference between self-love and self-absorption. When you honor your own needs, boundaries, and inner rhythm, you create the foundation from which genuine compassion and giving can arise. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and those who neglect themselves in the name of service often end up offering others only fragments of their energy. True care begins when you are whole within yourself. When you place yourself at the center of your life, it does not mean excluding others. It means including yourself in the equation. You begin to see that love, to be real, must start from within. Otherwise, it becomes a performance, a way to gain approval or avoid loneliness. But when love flows from inner fullness, it is no longer a transaction. It becomes effortless, nourishing, and free from the need for reward. This balance also allows clarity to emerge. When you no longer abandon yourself to please others, you can finally discern what relationships, paths, and choices truly resonate with your essence. You stop saying yes out of guilt and start saying yes from truth. The quality of your presence deepens because it is no longer scattered across the expectations of others. To choose yourself is to realign the natural order of giving and receiving. When your actions are rooted in self-awareness rather than self-denial, every gesture becomes sincere. In that harmony, you discover that serving others does not require sacrificing yourself. It simply means sharing the abundance that overflows when you are finally at peace with who you are. When you stop pretending to be someone else, the world begins to shift in response. It's as if life had been waiting for you to drop the mask, to step out of the performance and into the raw honesty of being. Pretending may feel safe for a time. It earns approval, keeps the peace, and fits the mold, but it also suffocates the spirit. The moment you let go of that pretense, you create space for truth to breathe. What follows may not be comfortable at first. Some people will leave. Some opportunities will vanish. Yet, what remains will finally align with who you truly are. Transformation doesn't always arrive with grand revelations. It begins in small moments of surrender. When you say no to what drains you, when you speak a truth you've long silenced, when you choose peace over pleasing. Each act of honesty reshapes the landscape of your life. The energy that once went into maintaining appearances returns as vitality and clarity. You begin to attract experiences that resonate with your authenticity rather than your disguise. Letting go also means trusting that what is meant for you cannot be lost. When you stop clinging to what no longer fits, you allow life's natural intelligence to reorganize things in your favor. It is not chaos, it is realignment. The false must fall away so the true can take its place. As the unnecessary dissolves, a quiet sense of freedom appears. You realize that transformation was never about becoming something new, but about remembering what was real beneath the layers. In the simplicity of your truth, life meets you with equal honesty, and everything that remains begins to reflect the depth of who you've always been. When you finally choose yourself, there is a homecoming, not to a place, but to a presence. For so long, you may have searched for completion in others, in accomplishments, or in dreams just out of reach. Yet no matter how much you achieved, or how deeply you loved, a quiet emptiness lingered beneath it all. That emptiness was not a flaw. It was a call to return inward. The moment you turn toward yourself with acceptance instead of avoidance, that hollow space begins to soften. You start to sense that nothing was ever missing. You were simply looking outward for what had always lived within. Wholeness is not perfection. It is the harmony of everything you are. It is the gentle awareness that both your light and your shadow belong to the same sky. When you stop judging yourself and start embracing your humanity, the endless striving to become someone else falls away. You begin to live with ease because you no longer resist your own nature. You realize that peace does not come from controlling life, but from allowing it to unfold through you. In that acceptance, love changes shape. It no longer depends on conditions or reciprocation. It becomes the natural state of being. You no longer seek to complete yourself through another person, because you finally see that you were never broken. From this inner wholeness, every relationship, every experience becomes an extension of joy rather than a grasp for fulfillment. Choosing yourself brings you back to the source of life itself. That quiet, unchanging awareness behind every thought and feeling. In recognizing your own completeness, you no longer chase meaning, you embody it. And life, sensing your stillness, flows through you effortlessly, as though it too has found its way home.